Hello, and greetings to all you fans of RPGs and of Dungeons & Dragons. This is RPGmodsFan, and in this video, I will be reviewing and discussing the Dungeons & Dragons adventure Fair Barovia, which was written by Claudio Pozas and published in Dungeon Magazine issue number 207 in October of 2012. This adventure was meant for player characters between the levels of 5 to 7. This adventure was written for AD&D 4th edition rules. However, I do not think the Dungeon Master will have too much trouble converting it to 5th edition rules. It is a matter of using the 5th edition equivalent of the monsters encountered. The Fair Barovia Adventure takes its inspiration from the iconic AD&D Module I6 Ravenloft. The events in this adventure takes place before the I6 Ravenloft Module. I have already reviewed the I6 Ravenloft Module in a previous video. In that video, I also discussed the Ravenloft campaign setting. So as to not repeat myself, I would recommend watching that video on that topic. What the Fair Barovia Adventure does in particular is expand the map of Barovia. Before, the Adventures of Ravenloft was limited to the area within the red box displayed on the screen. The Fair Barovia Adventure adds the town of Vallaki as well as other areas to the lands of Barovia. The adventure starts with the player characters heading to the town of Vallaki. How did the player characters end up in Barovia? Why are they traveling to Vallaki? Those questions are not answered by the adventure. Unless the player characters are denizens of Barovia, the Dungeon Master has the task of answering such questions. Through the interactions with various non-player characters, there will be plenty of side quests for the player characters. The main quest, however, for the player characters will be to hunt down and eliminate the leader of the Baal Varzi. The Baal Varzi is a secret society of assassins that have infiltrated Barovia. How the player characters get this quest is left up to the Dungeon Master. The adventure gives ideas and implied guidelines on how the player characters get the main quest, but the adventure gives no further details on this. Minor spoiler warning before I start with the major ones. The drawbridge to Castle Ravenloft will be drawn up. Basically, Castle Ravenloft is closed off and not part of this adventure to the player characters. The player characters are not meant to meet or speak with the ruler of Barovia, Count Strahd von Zorovich. Even if they do, that interaction will be brief. I will now be discussing the adventure itself, and this video will contain spoilers. unless you are a dungeon master who will be running this adventure for their players, or are a player who already played through this adventure and are watching this video for nostalgia purposes, I would suggest not to watch the rest of this video. The adventure does give information about the people, geography, history, and other details of Barovia, many of which I already discussed in the video about the I6 Ravenloft module. Hence, I would suggest watching that video before this one. As FYI, the events of the Fair Barovia Adventure takes place about 16 years before the events of the I6 Ravenloft module. During this time, Kolyan Indrirovich, the burgomaster of Barovia, is still alive. He has not yet found Irina, who will be an infant at this time. In the centuries since becoming a vampire, Count Strahd von Zorovich has taken care to periodically fake his own demise and ascend to the throne anew as his own heir. Keep in mind that Strahd is able to cast Polymorph Self spell, which enables him to achieve this lineage charade. Strahd I is still widely revered throughout Barovia for freeing the realm from the Turg invaders, but every subsequent heir is not seen in such a favorable light. Thanks to this charade, few Barovians realize that the devil Strahd is an actual vampire. To most denizens, the current ruler of the realm is simply Strahd XI. The leader of the Baal Varzi in Barovia is the vampire Leo Delisnia. Centuries ago, Leo served as a minor officer in Strahd's army during his crusade against the Turks and the conquest of the lands of Barovia. The Fair Barovia does some retconning of the lore of Strahd, Ravenloft, and Barovia. Personally, I do not like the retcons that the adventure made. So, all I will say is that Leo betrayed Strahd. As revenge, Strahd turned Leo into a vampire and imprisoned him in a tomb so that he would starve for eternity. In particular, Strahd locked Leo up in a tomb in the Walkthru's family crypt. Eventually, Leo was able to escape, and now he has disguised himself and is known as Brother Henrik of the Monastery of the White Sun, which is a front for the Baal Varzi operations in Barovia. Strahd wants to eliminate the Baal Varzi's presence in his lands. He will seek the player character's assistance in this task and will hire them through agents. Strahd has given strict instructions to his agents that the player characters must not learn who is their real employer. Two agents of Strahd who can join the player characters as companions are Falstan Mitrachi and Arabelle Zorovan. Falstan is a halfling 5th level rogue, and Arabelle is a human 5th level cleric. Neither of them is evil. Their service to the Count stems not from some secret lust for power, but from a genuine loyalty to their country and ruler. They have never been asked by the Count to perform evil deeds. Also, neither of them have ever met Strahd face to face. In addition, Arabelle is a gypsy fortune teller. The gypsy clan in Barovia call themselves the Vistani, whose leader is Madame Eva. In this setting, despite being 16 years younger, Madame Eva is still considered old. Displayed is the map of the lands of Barovia. Points of interest include the town of Vallaki, the village of Barovia, the monastery of the White Sun, Castle Ravenloft, and Lysaga Hill. The major locations within the town of Vallaki include the Blue Water Inn, the Bazaar and Park, the Village Hall, the Thaani Quarter, and St. Andrew's Church. If the player characters visit St. Andrew's Church, they will see a centuries-old stone building with cracked stained glass windows. Father Lucian Petrovna is in charge and has a quest for the player characters. He will want the player characters to investigate the murders of Nikolai and Karl Walkthru. In the guise of Brother Henrik, the vampire Leo Delisnia is the murderer. Hence, this quest leads to the intended conclusion of this adventure. As background information, Leo has a deep resentment or grudge against the Walkthru family. It is an ancestor of the Walkthru family that helped Strahd capture Leo in the first place. Outside of Vallaki, at and around the area labeled A10, a clan of Dusk Elves make their habitat here. Their leader is a druid named Kazimir Velikovna. A few of his hunters went missing. As a quest, he will want the player characters to find these elves. Long ago, Kazimir had a sister named Patrina Velikovna. According to the I6 Ravenloft Module, Patrina learned a great deal of the black arts and was nearly a match for Strahd's powers. She was to wed and become one of Strahd's wives. When her clan found out she was practicing the black arts, they stoned her to death. Strahd demanded for and got her body. Strahd then buried her in one of the crypts in the catacombs level of his castle. She then rose and became a banshee. The missing elves can be found at Lysaga Hill. At the top of the hill are ruins of a monastery. Haunting the hill is the banshee Petrina Velikovna. She is seeking revenge on her clan for stoning her to death. She has turned 6 clan members into undead warriors. Only 3 of the missing elves remain alive. Currently, they are bound and tied up and are located in the middle of the ruins, amongst Petrina and her undead warriors. Other than the setting being about 16 years earlier, the village of Barovia is pretty much the same as the one described in the I6 Ravenloft module. The Church of the Morning Lord is located at the area marked E3. A younger Father Danovich is still the head priest, who has recently lost his son Daru. Kolyan Indirovich is alive and is the burgomaster of Barovia. He lives with his son Ismark. At this time, he has not encountered and adopted Irina. In the center of the village is Bildras Mercantile Store. Also in the center of the village is the Blood of the Vine Tavern. The Fair Barovia Adventure adds another tavern to Barovia, called the Wolf's Den. The Wolf's Den Tavern is located at the southeast corner of the village. The proprietor of the Wolf's Den is a half-elf named Daria Fidatov. Daria is not a native Barovian, but a former adventurer who settled in the village after her party died trying to assault Castle Ravenloft. Her somber establishment caters to Barovians of gloomy disposition. She offers strong drink and little food, and allows gambling and other seedier endeavors in her establishment. The climax of the adventure takes place in the monastery of the White Sun, where the vampire Leo Dilencia is hiding from Strahd. The monastery sits atop of a very, very high hill, and it is a very long trek to reach it from the valley below. Not too long ago, perhaps a few years ago, Leo Dilencia managed to take over the monastery. He converted most of the monks into vampire spawn. The 10 remaining and surviving monks are locked up in the monastery's dining hall and kitchen area. When Leo gets hungry, he visits the kitchen, removes one of the monks, and sucks him dry. The area labeled H3 is the chapel area of the monastery. The chapel is being defiled by the unholy chanting of 4 vampire spawns who are gathered around the chapel's altar. The vampire spawn are being guarded by 4 forsaken shells who lie on the floor in the guise of corpses. Their duty is to prevent the vampire spawn from being interrupted in their unholy chanting. Leo Delincia will make his final stand in the monastery's inner courtyard. At the various corners of the courtyard are a total of 4 skeletons that will come to Leo's aid when combat commences. Nearby the inner courtyard is the monastery's armory and barracks. Housed here are 6 vampire spawns and a manticore. If they hear battle going on in the courtyard, they will come to Leo's aid within a few rounds. Just as a memo, the manticore goes out hunting at night. So, if the player characters are battling Leo in the evening, then the manticore will not be there. The adventure is considered concluded when the player characters have killed Leo Delincia. News of his defeat will quickly reach Strahd. Within a few days, and shortly after sunset, the Count arranges for a luxurious horse-drawn carriage to meet up with the player characters. The driver of the carriage will inform the player characters that the Count is most pleased with their efforts in ridding Barovia of the assassin. As the coach's doors open by themselves, the driver further states that the Count will allow them to leave the lands of Barovia, a courtesy he affords to very few visitors. Roll credits. Displayed are the credits found within the module itself. Thank you for watching. Hope this video has been informative and entertaining. I love many types of role-playing games, especially Dungeons & Dragons. Inclusive in my wayward love is computer role-playing games. In the near future, I plan on continuing to review the other versions of Ravenloft, such as Expedition to Castle Ravenloft and Curse of Strahd. Till next time, this is RPGmodsFan saying cheers, have a good day, and goodbye.
Run free and dive into the sky. Hear the wind crying out its prayer, while we so ashamed to be alive. Break the chains and our freedom's ours to take. back. Chase the light when the world is getting darker. I have a dream where love's the only side. So take my hand, join the army of the shadows.